Boa tarde a todos. Conseguem me ouvir bem? Quem quiser pode já comentar aí no nosso nossa aba de comentários. E em breve o embaixador já vai entrar na nossa transmissão. Deu acontecer um probleminha, agora ele já está voltando. E bem-vindos ao nosso evento Azerbaijão, reflexões e perspectivas no pós-guerra. Gostaria de agradecer a todos os participantes, principalmente ao Centro Acadêmico de Relações Internacionais Aloysio Crolin, da UVV, e ao Baku International Multiculturalism Center, nosso outro patrocinador. As perguntas elas deverão ser submetidas pelos comentários e depois a gente vai selecioná-las para que o embaixador possa responder. As perguntas podem ser tanto sobre o tema que vai ser abordado na nossa palestra, como outras dúvidas sobre a embaixada, sobre as relações Brasil-Azerbaijão. Então, hoje, nesse dia muito especial para o Azerbaijão, é um dia que é celebrado o Dia da Vitória, que ano passado o Azerbaijão ele ganha a segunda guerra do Nagorno-Karabakh, que dura 44 dias, e retoma grande parte do seu território que estava ocupada. Então, estamos agora no aguardo. Começar. Quem tiver já dúvidas já podem colocar aqui, e a lista de presença ela vai ser disponibilizada depois, na hora que começar as perguntas, a gente passa a lista de presença para quem quiser o certificado. Enquanto o embaixador ainda não chega, vamos dar alguns informes. Eu vou falar um pouco da nossa programação, que hoje começa com o embaixador Elkhan Polukhov. E hoje à noite teremos uma mesa redonda com outros 3 acadêmicos, que são a escritora e jornalista Andrea Hiromi, o estudante de Michigan State Matthew Garnett, que é estudante em Relações Internacionais e Língua Turca, e a jornalista presidente da Associação Brasileira de Jornalistas da Área Internacional, Fabiana J. Han, que foi a primeira jornalista brasileira a visitar o território liberado depois que a guerra acabou. Então, essa serão a dinâmica das atrações de hoje. Amanhã teremos um dia de multiculturalismo, onde durante a manhã, à tarde no caso, teremos Ravan Hassanov, que é o diretor executivo do Baku International Multiculturalism Center, que é PhD em Direitos Humanos. Ele vai falar sobre os ataques ao multiculturalismo do Azerbaijão. E à noite teremos a professora doutora Leila Bijos, que vai falar também sobre o multiculturalismo, democracia e justiça. E no nosso dia de encerramento teremos Leila Taguieva, que vai falar sobre o Eurovision, a cultura e a política no pós-guerra. E o encerramento com eu, João José Xavier, e o Renan Luz, falando sobre uma visão brasileira das relações diplomáticas, paradiplomáticas e a diplomacia parlamentar entre Brasil e Azerbaijão. Vamos ver se o embaixador já chegou, ele ainda não conseguiu conectar novamente, tem um probleminha aqui. Bom que dá o tempo também de mais gente chegar no nosso evento. Temos mais de 40 inscritos, então dá tempo das mensagens chegarem nos grupos de. Enquanto isso, algumas recomendações para vocês seguirem o Instagram, quem ainda não segue o Instagram do Espaço Cáspio. E o nosso canal do YouTube, quem está assistindo por aí já inscreve, que vamos ter novidades em breve. Já ativem o sininho, aquele papo clássico de internet, né? Que querendo ou não é muito importante. E as notícias acompanhem no nosso site, né? espaçocaspio.com.br, que fala sobre Azerbaijão e Cazaquistão. Aí agora. Eduardo Santos já falando que os alunos do COC Lago Norte de Brasília estão acompanhando com muita curiosidade para conhecer mais sobre o Azerbaijão. Legal, bom saber que o pessoal não só de faculdade, mas também de ensino fundamental e médio possam conhecer um pouco mais sobre o país. Aqui no... Aqui nos probleminhas da nossa estreia. Esperamos que os próximos eventos a gente consiga fazer um pouco mais certinho no tempo e tudo mais, porque é uma plataforma nova para muita gente, então a gente está acostumando junto. E quem já está online, por favor, que se quiser se manifestar, fala um pouco das expectativas sobre o evento e, além do certificado, o que mais gostariam de saber sobre o Azerbaijão, gostariam de saber sobre o programa do Espaço Cáspio. Agora o embaixador está começando a conectar aqui. O Gustavo está querendo saber quando é que vamos para lá. Aí, Gustavo, um dos nossos estagiários. É muito legal também poder divulgar o programa de estágio que nós temos, uma parceria com o Centro Acadêmico, Cariac, e que a gente pretende expandir também, não só para o Cariac, mas para outros estudantes de relações internacionais. E é aquilo, né? Vamos ver, quem sabe a gente consegue algumas coisas com patrocínios e tudo mais, para principalmente agora com essa questão do Baku International Multiculturalism Center, que a gente quer fazer o intercâmbio entre os estudantes. Então é uma oportunidade bem interessante para o futuro. Por isso vale muito a pena acompanhar. O embaixador pediu 2 minutos, ele está resolvendo problemas técnicos que acontecem, né? E temos que lembrar que é um horário complicado, porque lá é um feriado no Azerbaijão, o embaixador nesse momento está no Azerbaijão, é um feriado lá, o maior, primeira vez que é celebrado esse feriado deles. Então, e o fuso horário de 7 horas, por isso que palestras são sempre nesse horário de 1 da tarde, para ser 8 da noite no horário do Azerbaijão, e a gente conseguir os convidados de lá também. E daí o horário da noite serão os representantes do Brasil e o estudante americano. Por isso a gente fez essa programação bem dividida, assim, porque temos grandes problemas com o fuso horário. Mas se eu resolver isso, e é isso, a gente está resolvendo essas coisinhas, os nossos probleminhas técnicos, já que resolvemos o horário, mas ainda não resolvemos os problemas técnicos. Gostei que a maioria aparentemente está assistindo pelo YouTube, então já podem se inscrever aí, ajudar a gente a crescer um pouco mais. É um canal novo que a gente criou para desenvolver e divulgar os países, o Azerbaijão e o Cazaquistão. E esse é o primeiro grande evento do Espaço Cáspio completo, com os estagiários, sobre o Azerbaijão. E a gente pretende fazer novos eventos e novas contribuições. Boa tarde, Júlia. Bem-vinda à nossa transmissão. Boa tarde, Daniel, também. E é muito legal ver o pessoal, né, participando já, mesmo com esse pequeno atraso. Eduardo Santos pergunta: o Espaço Cáspio pretende em futuros eventos interagir também com as escolas de ensino fundamental, média, etc.? É bem interessante a promoção de eventos desse tipo também nesse ensino de base. Então, a gente tem outros planos desse tipo, de promover esse tipo de eventos. Então, vamos buscar uma oportunidade com escolas de ensino fundamental e médio. Agora, já temos... Boa tarde, Melissa. Boa tarde, Sani. Boa tarde, João. Boa tarde, Thales. Eu não consigo ver a sua imagem. I can't see you, Mr. Ambassador. Just blank. Just black screen. De novo, probleminhas técnicos. Vamos ainda tentar resolver o mais rápido possível. Já dei boa tarde até o Thales, e agora boa tarde, Carol, também. Lembrando que as perguntas poderão ser feitas pelo chat. A gente vai fazer, o embaixador vai fazer 20, 30 minutos de exposição. E depois vamos abrir para perguntas, como eu disse anteriormente, já que mais gente chegou agora. Se inscrevam no nosso canal, sigam o nosso Instagram, Espaço Cáspio, acompanhem as notícias do nosso site, espaçocaspio.com.br, e a lista de presença ela vai ser disponibilizada durante o período de perguntas. Ela vai ser um link do Google Forms, vocês, para quem quiser o certificado, preencher a lista de presença. E as perguntas podem ser feitas tanto sobre o tema abordado na palestra, como sobre outras dúvidas das relações Brasil-Azerbaijão e outras dúvidas sobre a vida diplomática, já que é um diplomata, que ele é professor doutor em relações internacionais, então ele tem uma vivência muito grande também como acadêmico, então é uma oportunidade legal para todos acompanhar um pouco de uma vida de um professor, de um diplomata e que viveu num período de transição tão conturbado que é o fim da União Soviética. Então, várias dúvidas podem surgir de temas diferentes. Olá, Brenda, que é a última a chegar aí. Da boa tarde. Estamos aqui com alguns probleminhas, mas já estamos resolvendo. E para os próximos eventos, divulguem para seus colegas de classe, para os seus amigos interessados em outros temas e tudo mais, professores. Só um minuto que o embaixador teve um probleminha maior aqui agora. Boa tarde, Thaís. Mais uma chegando aí. Temos alguns problemas. João Frezeira pergunta: boa tarde, as perguntas para o embaixador podem ser feitas em inglês ou você prefere que seja feita em português? O conteúdo da palestra vai ser em inglês, mas as perguntas podem ser em qualquer um dos dois idiomas, que a gente traduz se precisar. Agora temos um embaixador aí presente. Good evening, Mr. Ambassador.
Good evening. I'm very sorry for these technical problems, but again, I'm not very sophisticated on that, unfortunately.
No problem. Welcome to our event. It's a pleasure to have you here. And please introduce you, and the floor is yours.
First of all, thank you very much, Mr. Jean Javier, for this opportunity. Espaço Caspi is an agency with whom we cooperating for a long time, and even before. We personally cooperate with author and creator of this agency or information source about Azerbaijan and Caspian Sea bases on Portuguese language. My name is Elkhan Polukhov. I am ambassador of the Republic of Azerbaijan to Brazil. But besides Brazil, we're also covering Suriname, Guyana, Trinidad, Tobago, and Ecuador, and also accredited as an observer in CARICOM organization. Today is a very special day for everybody in Azerbaijan, all Azerbaijanis all around the world, because today we're celebrating first anniversary of the practical end of the Armenian-Azerbaijan conflict over the Nagorno-Karabakh. Today is a day, exactly a day when one of the main cities, citadel of Karabakh, Shusha, was an Azerbaijani army regained control over Shusha, and our president, Mr. Ilham Aliyev, announced about it publicly via TV and via different other media outlets, also and to inform everybody in the world that finally Shusha returned back under the control of Azerbaijan. Why it's important? Because Shusha is a cradle of Azerbaijani culture, and within that 1 year, a number of internationally important events happened there. Shusha currently is a cultural capital of Turkic world. Shusha is a historically cultural capital of Azerbaijan, and control over Shusha, which was lost many years ago, it's very essential. But parallel to that, we also can say that that day become end of Great Patriotic War, 44-day war, which we call Great Patriotic War, because Azerbaijani people, Azerbaijani nation, waited for this day for many years. Since beginning of aggression of Armenia against Azerbaijan, which started even during Soviet time when both republic were part of 1 year ago. In Baku, it's a lot of different events in Baku, Shusha, and other cities, different big events. Just short history of the conflict since beginning of 1990s, when both former part of Soviet Union, both republics, Armenia and Azerbaijan, regained their, in case of Azerbaijan, regained his independence. Armenian side proclaimed open war against Azerbaijan, claiming part of the territory called Nagorno-Karabakh. But that conflict and that aggression ended with occupation more than 25% of the territory of Azerbaijan for more than around 30 years. And it was not only Nagorno-Karabakh itself, but also 7 adjacent regions around it, which definitely showed and demonstrated that it was obvious aggression against Azerbaijan. It was nothing about the so-called independence of Armenians who live in Nagorno-Karabakh. It was direct aggression against Azerbaijan with aim to took advantage of political turmoil in the country and gain control over some part of the territory of my country. And unfortunately, during this 30 year, during the occupation, Armenians ethnically cleansed all the occupied territories. They pushed away all the Azerbaijani population, not only Azerbaijani, but also other minorities who used to live in these areas, and put it under their effective control. But after the 1 year after the liberation of lands, we realized that they just put it under control without doing anything, by claiming that it's historical Armenian lands or something like it. Armenian political elites did nothing there except looting, demolishing everything. No, even churches remained there. They demolished Orthodox churches in some occupied territories, and we become witness of it after the liberation of the land. Unfortunately, First Karabakh War left 1 million refugees and IDPs, Azerbaijani refugees and IDPs. More than 15,000 people were killed, and many thousands was missed until now. They were not found. And so-called Second Karabakh War, Great Patriotic War, which started 27th of September of last year as a counteroffensive of Azerbaijan against Armenian new aggression against Azerbaijan, also unfortunately took the life around 3,000 Azerbaijani soldiers and militaries, more than 100 civilians, including kids and elders, because during this Second Karabakh War, Armenian militaries deliberately start to put under the made a target for their missiles and rockets the cities which were located far from the war zones. So they start to shell number of Azerbaijani cities, killing civilians, and most important, there's a most notorious one happening in Ganja when they start to shell the city, which is located more than 70 kilometers away from the front line. So they start to use all type of the missiles to shell the city, and they targeted downtown, middle of the city, not suburbs, when they would maybe claim that it was Azerbaijani militaries. But unfortunately, reality showed that Armenian militaries demonstrated again their barbarous face and barbarous attitude against Azerbaijan and Azerbaijani people and their hatred. But again, within 44 days of last year, Azerbaijani army demonstrated its military capacity and regained control over the most of the part of Nagorno-Karabakh and so-called former Nagorno-Karabakh and some districts laid around it. And conflict ended 10th of November when under the mediation of Russian president, President of Azerbaijan and Prime Minister of Armenia signed joint declaration. So it was three leaders of three countries, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Russia, signed this declaration, which clearly was evidence of end of the conflict, first of all, but also it was clear evidence of capitulation of Armenian army and Armenian side, because they realized that Azerbaijani army is capable to fulfill all the tasks which were in front of them and can do it in a very short time. But Azerbaijani side, again, our leadership demonstrated humanism, and we agreed to stop the conflict on this stage with clear request that all the occupational forces will leave territory of Azerbaijan. But again, one of the conditions was that temporarily Russian peacekeepers will be located in some areas for transition period for 5 years. But also one of the important part of this joint declaration article was that communication in the region should be opened, and special communication or corridor which will link Azerbaijan, main territory of Azerbaijan, with Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic, which is also part of Azerbaijan, also will be created. To implement this joint declaration articles on practice, sides agreed that on the level of vice presidents, on the level of on the level of executive power, the vice prime minister will meet to discuss the details of three countries will meet to discuss details of this joint declaration. And since then, within the last 1 year, a number of meetings happened in Moscow, mostly where sides start to discuss how practically they can implement. Because joint declaration, it's not a final peace agreement. One of the not precondition, but one of the requests, strong requests of Azerbaijan is to get to that stage when we will sign peace agreement, when sides will recognize territorial integrity and sovereignty of both countries within internationally recognized borders. Sides will do everything to unblock the communications, which were blocked because of Armenian position and aggression around 30 years. And especially Armenia, suffered from this blockage of the roads. Today, we had a situation when Azerbaijan is fulfilling all the obligations which were taken within this joint declaration. But unfortunately, Armenia still refuses, and still it is some kind of unclear messages calling for revenge from Armenian side, calling to prolong the communication and use the different ways to not allow the final peace agreement to be reached, with some hopes maybe in the future to return back to the pre-conflict to the situation which for the last 30 years, which is of course unrealistic one. And Azerbaijani army and Azerbaijani nation, Azerbaijani population of Azerbaijan demonstrated how strong can be reaction when the nation unified around one main idea to liberate their lands, and demonstrated that even though that for the last 30 years under the mediation and, let's say, so-called Minsk group, it was no progress achieved. We still, all the nation, all the leadership of Azerbaijan believe that one day we will return the land by any means, which means if not by peaceful way, we can do it via using our military potential and our all the potential which country has, and we did that, and we demonstrated during the 44 days how unified can be nation to get and reach its final goal. Unfortunately, Armenian side, with all his public statements about readiness for talks about implementation of the old application, which was taken under the joint statement of three leaders of the country, they're trying to avoid to make practical steps. Just want to remind that since first Karabakh war, around 4,000 Azerbaijani citizens is still in the list of the missing people, and which show that Armenia is clearly not ready, at least for now, for honest talk. Armenian side refused to provide minelands map to prevent casualties from the civilian side, because Azerbaijan, as soon as territory was liberated in November of last year, we start the rehabilitation, because people should return to their own lands. People should return to live in peaceful condition in their own houses, which do not exist, unfortunately. I will come back to my own practical experience on that matter. In 8 months since liberation of the occupied lands, Azerbaijan built international airport in Fizuli, built hundreds of kilometers of communications roads, working on reconstruction and rebuilding the railways, which existed in pre-conflict time, heavily investing into the infrastructure projects, building the settlements, so-called intellectual settlements. Idea of Azerbaijani leadership, President of Azerbaijan Ilham Aliyev, is to create Karabakh zone, liberated zones into the green economy. And from that point, we are very intensively cooperating with different international actors who are have experience, big experience on that matter, and can help Azerbaijan to implement that idea. Even though that Azerbaijan is an oil country, oil and gas country, but still we paying big attention to the issue of ecology. And for us, it's very important to create the condition addition, when the people who return to their lands able to enjoy the green economy and ecologically safe economy. We should also switch from the conflict to the Brazil and Azerbaijan relations, because I'm here also part of my speech is, of course, would be dedicated to the Brazil and Azerbaijan relation. I should mention that since the beginning of aggression of Armenia against Azerbaijan, Brazil steadily supported territorial integrity and sovereignty of Azerbaijan. And you probably know that in 1990, during the highest time Armenian aggression and intensive military battles happened in Nagorno-Karabakh and outside of it, of course, Security Council of United Nations adopted resolutions which called for immediate withdrawal of the Armenian occupational forces from occupied territories. And Brazil, that time as a member of UN Security Council, as a non-permanent member, it's voted to support territorial integrity of Azerbaijan and gave his voice to support all these resolutions. And by this, it's demonstrated its commitment to the international legislation and
O embaixador deve ter tido algum problema de internet, a conexão estava com alguns problemas. Enquanto ele falava um pouco das relações do Brasil com o Azerbaijão, eu tenho que ressaltar que o Brasil, como ele estava falando, ele era membro do Conselho de Segurança das Nações Unidas no momento das resoluções da ONU, que reafirmaram a integridade territorial do Azerbaijão. E quem já tiver algumas dúvidas para o embaixador, tanto sobre o conflito como para essa questão das relações Brasil e Azerbaijão, já podem deixar as perguntas. E eu estou tentando comunicar com ele aqui no privado. Mas todo mundo conseguiu entender bem a parte que ele falou até o presente momento?
Sorry for that again.
Okay.
Problems.
Okay. Can you continue?
Azerbaijan, like Brazil, is regional leader in its own region, but after the end of the Karabakh conflict, we brought new realities in Caucasian regions, South Caucasian region, and it's turned Azerbaijan not only into the regional leader, but it also turned it to the leader in a more wider contest area. But and using this chance, we want to express our gratitude to the all allies countries who supported Azerbaijan during this 44 days day wars. To the Turkey, first of all, which is open a clear position, to Israel, to the Pakistan, and many others, including Brazil, who during the 44 days clearly again stated support for peaceful resolution of conflict and supported sovereignty of all the sovereign countries around the world, which is very important. Coming to the importance and some dates in our relation, next year it's important year for relation between Azerbaijan and Brazil. It is 30th anniversary since both countries recognized each other and established their diplomatic relation. 23 of October of 1992, countries established diplomatic relation. And in 2011, Azerbaijan opened its embassy in Brazil. So next year we're celebrating 30th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relation between our countries, and 10th anniversary since embassy start his physical activity on Brazilian soil. We can say that during these years, both countries went through the long way of cooperation, and we can proudly say that we currently now we can telling about existence of number of agreements between our countries and memorandums which was signed in different areas, around 15 different documents. It's still on the table to negotiate and communicate to finalize it, which again cover different areas of bilateral relation. Countries has a very intensive and close cooperation in multilateral fora, where we support mutually advantageous ideas of joint concern, starting from ecology and finishing with cybercrime and other areas. But parallel to that, we also working very intensively on building relation on the level of parliaments. Both countries has in their respective legislative bodies group of friendship. In Brazil, it's in the Câmara. We had a friendship group under the leadership of Deputada Cláudia Cajado. In Senate, it is Senator Antonio Anastasia. It was a number of visits from Brazilian MPs to Azerbaijan, and also our MPs visited Brazil. And the most recent one happened last week when Senator Antonio Anastasia made a very important historical trip to Azerbaijan, and during this trip he also visited city of Ganja and visited places where victims of Armenian aggressions, evidence of victims of Armenian aggressions can be visible. We visited area which was shelled by Armenian bombs, and after that we visited Agdam city, which was completely destroyed, and swept from the surface of earth. Journalists call this place Hiroshima of Caucasus, and Antonio Anastasia, Senator Anastasia, also agreed with that expression, because it is just one building. It is Azerbaijan, its mosque, who remained in the middle of the city with no construction around it, and Armenian militaries kept this mosque only for military purposes. No other purpose stayed behind it. Very dramatic picture which we saw there. Emotionally, it's very difficult to understand why city with population around 50,000 people was completely demolished, and it is not even single building remained there, except as I said, mosque, which have been kept as for military purposes. But Senator Anastasia also became the witness of Azerbaijani's energy of Azerbaijani side to rebuild and reconstruct that liberated lands. It is general plan of reconstruction of Agdam city. It's already ready, and now we are working, Azerbaijani side, working on cleaning from the mines these occupied territories, and it was contaminated. Probably it was one of the heaviest contamination by mines in the world. Territories within that last year, around 90,000 mines was removed, but many hundred thousands is still there, and work will continue. on that direction. But parallel with that, let's say, sad pictures which Senator Anastasia Soda, he also had very fruitful meetings in Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He was received by Speaker of the Parliament of Azerbaijan. We had a meeting in Ministry of Ecology, Ministry of Agriculture, where we talked about possible way of expanding cooperation between our two countries. Today, our relation mostly based on trade. Turnover saldo in this case go to the side of Brazil. We mostly buying products from Brazil, but since 2019, some changes start to be seen on a trade map of our countries. We finalized a few years ago carbonate plant in a city of Sumgait, which currently producing fertilizers. And for surprise of our delegation, we found out that in 2021, this year, for during last 10 months, 60% of product of this plant were purchased by Brazil, and Brazil is biggest buyer of the fertilizers from Azerbaijan. And statistics show that Azerbaijani export from grow 4 times since 2019, and again, it's mostly fertilizers. But for us, it's not enough. The sides discuss the possibility of transferring technologies. We look to the possibilities of organizing or setting joint ventures, and for this purpose, Senator Anastasia also visited Alat Free Economic Zone which has very special status in Azerbaijan, very favorable for foreign investors. And he saw by his own eyes opportunities which exist in my country. And we believe that via this kind of intensive visits and via this kind of intensive communications, we can reach the stage when Azerbaijan will be more visible in Brazil, and Brazil also will be more actively represented in my country. I think I don't want to take too much time. I know that I joined late. It was some technical problems there, but we truly believe that next year can become a most important year in relation between two countries, where we can reach some breakthrough. We also expecting some visits from Azerbaijan side to the region when Azerbaijani officials, members of parliament will pay their own visit to see also opportunities which exist here to start to bring countries and nations close to each other. And again, we are very thankful that today we had such a platform created by Spaso Caspian to allow the people of Brazil to learn more about my country, to get more information about Azerbaijan, and see that beside the conflict, a lot of positive opportunities lay on both sides, and we can work on direction of develop to find out and develop this potential on every direction, which will allow the countries to deepen the relation with each other. Thank you very much again for these opportunities. And anybody had any questions, I am on your disposal. But if no, our embassy is on your disposal anytime. We are inviting you to visit our website, follow us in our social media. Come with your questions, come with your ideas, and come with your potential, let's say, ideas which will allow deepen the relationship. Thank you, Joao. Sure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. And I will start with two questions. And after this, we have two questions of the audience too. And
Sure.
how was the celebration of the holiday, the Victory Day in Azerbaijan? How did you feel in the streets? And tell a bit about all the celebrations.
Okay. First of all, it was a celebration of all nations, but not only 10 millions of Azerbaijanis who live in Azerbaijan.
Hoje os probleminhas técnicos, a internet no Azerbaijão também está num feriadinho, eu acho. Mas, pessoal, quem já tiver as perguntas aí, tem a pergunta da Brenda já e do Eduardo. So,
Sorry again for the technical problem. I mentioned it was not celebration of only 10 million Azerbaijanis who live in Azerbaijan. It was a celebration of all nations, all Azerbaijanis who live all around the world. And when we're telling about Azerbaijanis, it's same idea which you here in Brazil has when you say we are Brazilians. Azerbaijan is a very multicultural country where people of different ethnic and religious background live together, and this is our joint celebration. It was a number of different events organized in different cities of country. In the capital, people marching on the street, carrying Azerbaijani flag of Turkey and other countries who supported Azerbaijan during the war. I think very long holiday. We had also Day of Flag of Azerbaijan tomorrow. We had also a 10 of November when declaration was signed. So it was a day full of emotions, but to that, it was a day of hope and belief that with the end of the conflict, so we can say that, and our belief.
hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I have one more question, but I cast you a question later. We'll prioritize our viewers. So we can start with Brenda. Azerbaijan was on the path of Silk Road, and it made significant contribution to the development of the country. Today, what's the importance of the new Silk Road route for Azerbaijan?
Okay. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Thank you very much for this question, Brenda. Silkway, yes, we were part and we still part of this initiative because Azerbaijan is one of the shortest and probably safest way from Asia to make it more practical. Azerbaijan several years ago launched the initiative to build a railway connection from Azerbaijan to Georgia, from there to the Turkey, and from Turkey to the Europe, to link Asian market with European market. And today it's one of the shortest and probably one of the cheapest way to deliver products of Europe to the Asian market and from Asian market to the European market. But parallel to that, that way or this transportation link can be also utilized by Brazilian business people who has their interest in China, for example. It's obvious and it's well-known fact that China is the largest trade partner of Brazil. And to deliver its goods, of course, the ocean get used for that. But what we are offering today is to deliver Brazilian products to any ports in Turkey, and from there to that connection to bring into the market of Central Asia, also north of China, and it would be very mutually advantage. It have a lot of mutual advantages for China, Brazil. But parallel to that, we also will be part of this new business opportunity or new logistic link.
Next one, Eduardo Santos. Beside the airport that was built, what are other steps the government of Azerbaijan intends to take in order to integrate back this territory regained after the conflict?
First of all, to let
It's freezing. I can hear you, Mr. Ambassador.
return there be
O pessoal hoje está bem complicada a transmissão do nosso digníssimo embaixador. Mas quem tiver ainda mais perguntas, lembrando que a lista de presença já está disponível. Só entrar no link do Forms, preencher o nome, e-mail e instituição. E cada uma das nossos eventos vai ter um valor em horas para a gente distribuir o certificado. Agora. Yeah. Please, if possible, from the beginning of the question, because we can't hear you in the first time.
Beside the airport, a number of things were done during the last 1 year. New roads were constructed. As I said, we also initiated a project of building railway to the liberated land. We also put the milestone of the toward the Armenian border, Zangezur, through this.
Conversando com ele sobre isso agora, João.
Yeah, the new settlements work on building on liberated lands, also Israelis, Italian, Turkish, and other investments with their technologies in agriculture and other spheres in liberated lands. But we should also remember that it's not easy process. The territory is still heavily contaminated by landmines, and Armenia do not provide it, unfortunately. And it's take a lot of time, energy, and money to clean all of these lands to let the people safely come back. Since end of the conflict, around 30 people become a victim of landmines. Azerbaijan is a victim of these landmines in liberated lands, including 2 journalists, Azerbaijani journalists, who were killed during the blast of the landmine, which show that, very unfortunately, Armenian sides trying to prevent positive development in the region via his unconstructive steps or unwillingness to cooperate. But again, we had our own program, and Azerbaijan will invest. In 2012, 21, around $1,400,000,000 investment was planned to spend in liberated lands. Similar amount will be directed to rehabilitation in next year, and more will come. So very soon we will be witnesses of a revival or new life of these lands, and clear demonstration that Azerbaijan is keen to rebuild these liberated lands, but not keep it under the occupation without doing nothing.
Next one from João Frizeira. About the role of the Brazilian National Congress of strengthening the diplomatic ties with Azerbaijan.
I should say that it's very big role, because parliamentary diplomacy today is playing more and more role on international arena. It's attract the attention of executive powers to the issues which our representative legislative bodies raised during their meetings. Last year, even though that it was a heaviest time period of the pandemic, our friendship leaders of our friendship group had 2 online meetings, which was organized and moderated by our embassies, Embassy of Brazil in Baku and our embassy in your embassy in Baku and our embassy here in Brasilia. And this year, as you see, there was a visit of senator were not able to visit because of the some health problems and some issues in Congress, where he was engaged in different activities. But we're pretty sure that next year it will be even more intense visits. And as I mentioned, it's important where bodies raise the issues, which become a good sign for executive bodies to be more active and more intensely work on building cooperation.
And one more question from Eduardo Santos. He mentioned me about you visit their school. So we have a lot of bilingual schools in Brazil and several international schools in Azerbaijan. Does the government of Azerbaijan plan on measures to improve the cooperation between schools, not only universities?
Thank you for this question. This idea, of course, exists. Currently, sites practically, we can say, sites finalized memorandum between two ministries of education, Brazil and Azerbaijan, and this framework document will allow to strengthen cooperation between not only universities but also schools. Here we have a kind of practical problems, realistic one. First of all, is distance between two countries, and when we're talking about schools, of course, it's we're talking about kids. It's very realistically we have platforms like this one to bring schools and school children close to each other. And parallel to that, it's another problem is lack of practically absence of specialists who fluently speaking Portuguese in Azerbaijan and Azerbaijanis or Brazilians who speak Azerbaijanis. But both embassies from both sides has different programs to leave or remove this gap, to deepen, let's say, knowledge, to disseminate more information about both countries through the schools, because school children, they're obviously going to be future ambassadors of our countries if we would be able to deliver positive message and information about Brazil and Azerbaijan to the both sides. And for that, our embassy in Brazil, for example, in cooperation with IRS magazine, we launched the project when every year we organized at least one issue of this magazine in Portuguese language, where not only articles of Azerbaijani authors, but also locals, local academicians get their own place. And very recently, one more issue will be presented to the Brazilian honorable public. We're also going to present the book of translation on Portuguese language, one of the poem of world well-known Azerbaijani poet Nizami Gencevi. This year is 880th anniversary of this great poet, and one of his poems were translated, poetry was translated into the Portuguese, Seven Beauties, and I think it will be one of the most important achievement in cultural life between our two countries, when Brazilian public will be able to read and introduce themselves about Nizam Gencevi, who is, of course, it's his poetry, it's heritage for whole world. It's treasury of whole world, not only Azerbaijan.
Last one from Gustavo Vieira de Sá. Since Brazil partook on dimming operation in the past, is it possible for our country to extend the solidarity with Azerbaijan and offer assistance and support?
Of course, Azerbaijan is ready and welcome all the efforts to help to finalize as soon as possible the mining of these territories. Again, it is some obvious obstacles like distance between two countries, linguistic problems. But even with all of this, Azerbaijan is open to cooperate with all the countries, all the agencies, and we always approach the UN to the relevant agencies to get the support the mining of the liberated lands as soon as possible, because this problem definitely it's one of the main obstacles preventing country to quickly restore all the communications, or to restore all the logistics on liberated land and start to let people to come back to their own motherland, to their own historical lands.
One more for João Freseira. In few days, the current ceasefire will be making 1 year. But in your opinion, what can both sides do in order to definitive treaty between two countries can be signed? Complementary to this question, I can ask about the situation of the Hankendi and how can it's planned in these agreements about the situation of Hankendi and capital of the region of Nagorno-Karabakh.
First of all, to get to finalize this conflict with peace agreement, we need a readiness of Armenian side to sit and have an honest talk. And precondition, not precondition, but based on this, it's a necessity to recognize sovereignty and territorial integrity of Azerbaijan within its internationally recognized border, which will after that lead to the process when we will start on demarcation and delimitation of borders. How you can talk about opening of communication when you do not with relevant, let's say, procedures. That's why I think Armenian leadership should understand that Azerbaijan offered this not only for his own benefit. Armenia will benefit from this agreement more than anybody in the region. Today, Armenia it's one of the poorest countries in the region. When the conflict started in 90s, population of Azerbaijan was around 7 million, and population of Armenia was around 3.5 million. Today, population of Azerbaijan is 10 million, and realistically, population of Armenia is around maybe 2 million, maybe 2 million and a half, which showed a huge immigration because of economic problems and political instability and a lack of perspective for future of Armenia. Coming to the Hankendi, realistically, we estimate that it's around 25,000 Armenians who remained in these territories which are temporarily under the control of Russian peacekeepers. But for us, all of them are our citizens. That's why Azerbaijani side constantly trying to reach them to explain that they need to get Azerbaijani citizens become part of Azerbaijan and enjoy all the benefits which other people of Azerbaijan has. And it is not kind of propaganda type of talk because besides Karabakh, besides these 25,000 Armenians, around 30,000 Armenians live in different cities, in different areas of Azerbaijan, in peace and prosperity, and they don't have any problems, which clearly demonstrate that we do not have any problem with Armenians. We do not have any problem with our citizens. The major obstacle is position of Armenian leadership, position of government of Armenia, who do not want to recognize reality in the region, who do not want to work for the benefits of his own people in Armenia, but also let the Armenians, our citizens, also to enjoy and benefit from all the privileges or developments which happen in their own country, because Azerbaijan is their country, and we clearly demonstrate and clearly talk about that.
So I think it is all the questions. And if you want to send a message for us and for all our spectators, please.
First of all, again, thank you very much for this opportunity. First of all, Joao, to you for this initiative in this glorious day for Azerbaijan and Azerbaijani people. We are happy that today we had a platform in Brazil where to my country I know that you're going to have a series of lectures dedicated to the region and to the situation in the region, and wish you good luck. Wish you all the best. Great, great opportunity, especially in the media. Definitely, great opportunity. Let's hope that one day you hear and practice. Don't stop.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Have a good night here.
You too. Thanks again
And
for the invitation and have a good night.
então, pessoal, muito obrigado pela presença de todos. A lista de presença vai continuar valendo pelos próximos 40 minutos antes da gente fechar. Cliquem aí, preenchem seus dados. E, por favor, acompanhem nossas próximas palestras, que teremos agora hoje à noite, com a mediação de Gustavo de Sá. Teremos Andréa Hiromi, jornalista, Fabiana Elkhan, jornalista, presidente da Associação Brasileira de Jornalistas Diplomáticos, e o estudante especialista em Relações Internacionais e Língua Turca, Matthew Garnett, dos Estados Unidos. Além disso, lembrando para se inscrever aqui no nosso canal, seguir nosso podcast, no Anchor FM /Espaço Cáspio, ou no Spotify, só pesquisar por Espaço Cáspio. Teremos uma edição especial para esse evento. E sigam e acompanhem nosso site também, espaçocaspio.com.br. Quem tiver alguma dúvida durante que teve vergonha de perguntar para o embaixador ou alguma coisa do tipo, pode entrar em contato com o nosso Instagram e nós vamos compilar as perguntas e fazer alguma coisa no nosso site também. Então é isso, gente. Hoje, 6h30 da noite, temos mais um evento. Muito obrigado pela participação e até mais.